Okay, excuse me, a meeting on October 8th, which is a check-in. And then on November 5th, we have another meeting, which is about networking online and how to market yourself well. And November 19th is our last meeting of the semester, and it's a game night. And so I also have the GroupMe join link at the bottom, and I also sent it out in the announcement that I sent out on Tuesday. So if you need that link, or if you know anybody that would be interested in joining our GroupMe, just go ahead and give them the link and point them in that direction. So now I'm going to have members of the e-board introduce themselves, and so I'll go ahead and start. My name is Tiara Furby. I'm going to be your president for the 2020-2021 academic school year. And I'm a junior, a CSB major. And my fun fact is that there's a 14-year difference between myself and my two sisters. My older sister is 14 years older than me, and then my younger one is 14 years younger than me. And so next we have Maurice, but he might be a little late today, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it for him. So Maurice, he is the vice president. He's a junior. He's a CSB major, and he has used Unity to design a video game, which is really cool. So Dahir, is it possible for you to get off mute and introduce yourself?
Yeah, it is. Hi, my name is Dahir Salat. I'm the secretary, and my classification is I'm a senior, and my major is CSV. My fun fact is being the oldest in the family.
Thank you. And next we have Brianna.
Hi guys, I'm Brianna. I am the treasurer of IT Eagles. I am a junior computer science and business major. And a fun fact about me is in high school, I actually met someone who had the same first, middle, and last name as me, and it was spelled exactly the same way.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Takia Kwame, and I serve as the event planner. My classification is a senior, and my major is computer science and business. And a fun fact about me is I'm the youngest and the only girl, and I also like to listen to music.
Thank you, everybody. And so now we can go ahead and move on to our topic for today's meeting, and that is adjusting to school life in a pandemic. And the three things that we're going to focus on today are the physical, mental, and academic aspects of it. So first, we're going to go over the physical. So what I thought was most important was to talk about the 3 W's, which are to wait 6 feet apart, wear a cloth covering over your nose and mouth, and to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds or use hand sanitizer. And this is basically what NCCU has been pushing since they've decided to bring students on campus. And almost literally every building on campus, you have to have some sort of covering over your face or over your mouth and nose so that you can come into the building. And also that is a really important rule that should be implemented basically anywhere. Like if you're going outside, just like to keep yourself safe as well as others, you should be covering your face. And just to, even if you don't go outside, like it's important just to have a safe environment and just make sure you're not exposing yourself to the virus unknowingly, like just making sure that you're social distancing, things like that. And so I didn't want to spend too much time focusing on the physical because we've been in this pandemic for a good few months now. So I think a lot of people have figured out or are still in the process of figuring out how to, keep themselves safe and healthy at this point. So next we have the mental aspect. And so I wanted to start with a quote from Russell Wilson. And it says, "If we start being honest about our pain, our anger, and our shortcomings, instead of pretending they don't exist, then maybe we'll leave the world a better place than we found it." And so I'm going to start by saying these are all just tips that I think are useful to keep yourself in a good mental state during all of this that we have going on right now. And so I wanted to start with exercise, and this includes walking, a HIIT routine, weightlifting, yoga, like a 5-minute YouTube exercise video, literally anything to get your body moving. And this not only helps your body, but it also releases endorphins, which in turn make us happy. And so next, I wanted to mention eating well, and that includes eating fruits and vegetables on a daily basis and drinking enough water to keep your body hydrated. And I stated that in that specific way because everybody's body is different. And so the amount of water that I'll need to keep myself healthy is different from what somebody else would need to keep their body healthy. And so there's no one size fits all amount for how much water you should be drinking. And so also understanding that eating healthy is important, but a lot of people get stuck on the fact of eating healthy and like how you should be eating healthy. Like people try and do it every day, which I don't think is necessary. Like I think it's important to also eat healthy, but to also understand that you can have what people consider cheat days. And so whether if you want to eat some ice cream, like go ahead and eat some ice cream. Like I feel like there needs to be a good balance between the two of eating healthy and also eating what you want to eat if eating healthy isn't your thing. So next we have asking for help. So this is I think is really important because therapy and counseling it's getting better, but I think it still has a certain type of stigma around it. But I think it's really important, especially during these times, to talk to a professional if you think that things are getting to be too much for you. And like there's nothing wrong. Like a lot of people think that if you have to talk to a therapist or you have to talk to a counselor, that there's something wrong with you, that you're crazy, but that's not at all the case. Like if you just feel like you need some professional help, there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, like that's great that you're taking the initiative to go ahead and talk to somebody when you feel that you need it. And so next we have a support system. And this involves keeping in touch with your family and friends and finding time to hang out with loved ones. And a lot of people have been falling out of touch with people or like their loved ones just because it's a really hard time. And it's even harder because people aren't used to not being able to go out whenever they want to. So I know during the beginning of quarantine and social distancing, this was very difficult for people, but I think people are starting to understand that going out and doing something isn't the only way that you can bond with people. You can pull up a Zoom meeting and just hang out with your friends, watch a movie and all that. And I think that's really important. Like a lot of people isolate themselves when they feel like they're not in a good place, but that's literally the opposite of what you should be doing if you feel that you're not doing well. And also, like if your friends are having like are the ones that aren't reaching out to you, or like they just seem a little off, like also check on your friends. Like that's 100% okay. Like you should be a support system to your friends at the same time. It goes both ways. And next I mentioned spirituality. And a lot of people are religious or just spiritual in general. And a lot of churches and different places like that have started holding virtual or socially distanced services. And a lot of people don't know that. Like recently, I talked to someone who didn't even know that their church was holding Zoom calls. And so, like, they had missed a few months of services just because they didn't know that their church was holding that. And I think it's important, just like if you're a spiritual person, you don't have to be in a spiritual space like a church to connect with God if that's what you do on a daily basis. And I just wanted to mention that because I know a lot of people are spiritual and religious. And next, touching back on the therapy and counseling section, NCCU has a counseling center in the student health building. And at this point, they don't want you to come into the building. So a lot of them are having you call the building or call the counseling center and schedule a meeting. So they're open from Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. And they hold individual and group counseling, and they also have outreach programs if that's something that you're interested in. So if you are interested or you feel like you just need to talk to somebody, the number is here, 919-530-7646. And for this number, you would be just calling the number and making a telehealth appointment. And they're basically just seeing what you need help with and what needs that you have that need to be met and how they would do that, whether it be setting one appointment a week or multiple times a week, whatever you need. So next we have the academic aspect of adjusting. And this has really been a struggle for a lot of people, and not just college students, high school students as well, even elementary school students. Like, we're all in a new territory at this point. None of us have lived through a pandemic. None of us have ever had to have, or some of us have, but most of us haven't had to have fully online classes, a whole schedule just of online classes. So this is new to everybody. So first, I want to say that you should always have your syllabus on hand. And when you do get them, it's been a few weeks since school started, so we should already have done this. But you should always record all the important dates from the syllabus. And that could include exams, quizzes, papers, homework assignments, other things. But you should always record all the important dates. And if you want to put it in a calendar, great. If you want to put it on your phone calendar, great. If you want to do any type of recording process that you do, but you should always take note of it. And other things you should also take note of are the different types of assignments that your class will involve, and also how they'll be graded. Because some teachers, for a paper, for example, they'll want 3 papers or 3 pages for each paper, but then another professor could want 1 page for each paper. Like, it all depends on who you're having and also what's expected of you for the class. Next, I would make a schedule. And personally, this is what I do. I create a weekly schedule every Sunday, and it just involves every class that I need to do or like that I'm going to have in session that week, as well as due dates for whatever quizzes, tests I have for that week. And then if I have any meetings that week, I'll also write that down. And I also schedule in study and homework time so that I can have a designated rest time for myself and just, for whatever I want to do. And I think this is really important. A lot of people just try and keep everything in their head and try and remember everything. But I used to do that, and honestly, I was missing assignments. So that's not a good idea at all. And I also think it's important to schedule in the study time and homework time, like I mentioned before, because a lot of people just study when they know a test is coming up. But if you schedule out your study time and like what you are going to be studying each day and like each study session, then it'll definitely cut down how much studying and cramming that you'll be doing at the end of the testing period. Next, I have attending lectures. And I know at this point, a lot of people or a lot of professors are holding live lectures, and they're also just recording lectures that you can watch later. So if you're able to attend live lectures, I would actually recommend that, because you can ask your professors questions in real time. But if you, for whatever reason, can't attend a live lecture or you just don't want to, I would recommend watching the lectures carefully and just making note of any questions or concerns that you might have with the material. And if you have any future questions, then just email your professor, mention it during a live lecture, anything like that. And also, I think this might be the most important tip that I'm going to give you, is to take a break. Like, if you feel like you're tired, like you feel like you're mentally burned out, or like if you just feel like you just don't want to do it anymore, that's also coming from a genuine place. So I think just taking a break and planning out your study time, like I mentioned before, is a really good way to make sure you don't just completely burn out. And so a lot of people I've seen study, I believe it's called the Pomodoro method. And so they'll study for like 40 to 45 minutes and then they'll take a 15-minute break and they just continue on that way until they get all their studying done. And I think that's a good idea. Like it's just really important to take breaks when you're taking in a bunch of information at one time so that you're not overwhelmed. And so lastly, I want to mention the Women of Color STEM virtual conference. And let me go to the information, then I'll come back to the interest meeting. So this is a conference being held on October 8th to the 10th. And there's a $25 registration fee, and all of that will be refunded if you fully participate in all your assignments for that day or for the entire conference. And so benefits of attending the conference are internship opportunities, fellowships, and employment, and also just learning information. And so some example companies that are going to be in attendance are IBM, General Motors, Boeing, AT&T, etc. And so you'll also be able to schedule specific blocks of time with these companies, whether it be for an interview or just an information session. And so I'm really encouraging all female students to attend. And if you know anybody that isn't in this meeting right now that you feel like would be interested in attending this conference, then by all means, like send them the flyer that we're going to be sending out soon and just let them know that we're also having an interest meeting on September 15th, 2020. And I believe that meeting is at 10:40 a.m. during 10:40 break. And if you are interested in attending the conference, contact Raina Upchurch at rupchurch1@nccu.edu. And yeah, that's what I have for today. Thank you all for attending.